And the question is now that the amendment be agreed to, and I give the call to the honourable member for Braddon.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. And I rise to speak in support of the member for Hunter's amendments in relation to this bill. And in particular, I wish to highlight the failure that this government has made in their lack of using evidence-based policies to support the efficient allocation of taxpayer monies. Mr Deputy Speaker, this side of the House will be supporting this legislation, but I have to say there are a number of issues where this government has failed to efficiently use taxpayer dollars, but importantly has failed industry through research, development and marketing. And I want to highlight an issue directly related to this legislation where it seems the former minister, the member for New England, completely dropped the ball relating to the Australian wild abalone campaign. The Australian wild abalone industry has a beach value of approximately $180 million. And in my state of Tasmania, we are the biggest contributor to this nationally, with a value of approximately $100 million coming from my state. In fact, the Tasmanian industry harvests, processes and exports the world's largest abalone resource, supplying over 25% of total annual global production of wild-caught abalone product. It is Tasmania's most valuable wild harvested marine resource and one of the state's largest export earners. 1,850 tonnes of live-weight abalone are harvested annually, and over 95% is exported principally to the Asian markets of China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan and Taiwan. This in turn generates some $200 million of associated economic activity into the state's economy, so you can get a picture that this is quite big for a small state of Tasmania. There are, however, opportunities for increased growth in associated and complementary industries such as food tourism, particularly targeting Asian markets, which we do very well in other sectors. The industry recognises the opportunity to significantly increase industry returns via investment in a strategic market development program such as the Australian wild abalone. The wild fishery already competes on the international stage against an increasing farmed abalone sector. Production has shifted from wild-caught to farmed, and over 90% of the world's abalone comes from aquaculture. The Australian wild abalone campaign is designed to meet these international challenges and, as mentioned, generate new industry opportunities. This is what we should be supporting wholeheartedly. It has a crucial role to play in supporting the long-term future of the Tasmanian and Australian wild-caught abalone industries. Australian wild abalone, which the campaign highlights that abalone is harvested from pristine ocean waters, which is abundant in Tasmania, is managed in an ecologically sustainable manner, and the product is certified for export under the EPBC Act, just to name a few. The legislation we are debating has its role to play in supporting the wild abalone campaign through the Fisheries Research and Development Corporation. The FRDC will be given a new capacity to undertake expanded marketing activities. The Seafood Cooperative Research Centre has previously been collecting funds from the Australian Abalone Council to facilitate the Australian wild abalone campaign. I don't know about you, Mr Deputy Speaker, it's making me a little bit hungry talking about abalone. It was proposed that these marketing funds held by the Seafood CRC would be rolled over to the Fisheries Research and Development Corporation by the 30th of June last year. But because of the former minister's bungling, this did not take place. The legislation is only before us now. Industry, sadly, has been forced to make other arrangements as an interim measure. The previous minister's focus, it seems, was all on the relocation of the APVMA, the Australian Pesticides and Veterinary Medicines Authority, to his own electorate, or the establishment of the Regional Investment Corporation to a National Party-held seat in Orange without any business case. And then, of course, the previous minister's failings was that the $272 million Regional Growth Fund announced in May last year has only just now, nearly a year later, opened up for applications. The fund is meant to support projects in regional Australian areas that are undergoing structural adjustment. In my electorate, I am sure the west coast of Tasmania, through the long-term shutdown of the Mount Lyell copper mine, and in Circular Head through the recent closure of the Edith Creek Murray Goulburn plant, would strongly argue that they are undergoing structural adjustment and welcome the opportunity to apply for these funds. As I've said, they've just opened up, so we've missed nearly a year of opportunity for these areas in regional Australia that are undergoing some structural change to actually get things moving. But, Mr Deputy Speaker, I also want to use this time to talk about research, development and extension work that particularly relates to the Tasmanian fruit fly emergency that we are now seeing, and sadly more fruit fly has been found in the southern part of Tasmania, which is absolutely alarming, and the member for Hunter mentioned this earlier. An emergency has been caused by biosecurity failures at a national and state level under Conservative governments. The Tasmanian government cut biosecurity funding. Funding cuts were also made by this coalition government. This government restructured the way funding was delivered to Tasmania to now a fee-for-service model. It sounds great on paper, but what this means on the ground is that Biosecurity Tasmania has had to do more with less, with now a 20% reduction in Commonwealth payments. The new minister sadly does not even know what is going on in Tasmania, where the fruit fly emergency threatens the state's $200 million horticulture industry. Valuable exports into overseas markets have been compromised by fruit fly. This is incredibly serious for Tasmania. The markets have been closed, farmers have been forced to destroy fruit, and the Tasmanian brand has sadly been damaged, and I hope we can resurrect this damage because it is so vitally important for my state. Tasmania's Agriculture Minister described this issue as a national system breakdown. But it seems, and I want to make this point but also encourage the new minister, I want him to take on more responsibility. I want him to make biosecurity, particularly to the benefit of Tasmania, as a front issue, a priority issue, that it is imperative for this state, and I'm sure other states, that biosecurity is front and centre, that it hits you in the face when you come to a state like Tasmania, that you are compelled to be part of that shared responsibility. Sadly, the current Agriculture Minister, who I do have some respect for, I must say, he chooses to blame the states without even knowing all the facts. And yet again, we have the state blaming the Commonwealth and other states, so it's a bit of a mess. In reply to a question in this place, he said it was all Victoria's fault, but it is a national breakdown. If the minister had been paying attention to answers given by Biosecurity Australia officials and Plant Health Australia officials during Senate estimates, he would or should have known. The advice is that the source of fruit fly outbreaks around Devonport in my electorate and Georgetown in the Medford-Bass electorates is still not known. I'm prepared to give the new minister the benefit of the doubt as he comes to grips with all the former minister's failings. My invitation remains, and I mean this sincerely, for him to visit my electorate. I did invite the previous Agriculture Minister to visit the northwest of Tasmania, to visit and meet with my dairy farmers, no strings attached. It was completely for their benefit, not any political benefit, and sadly that minister ignored my request. So the new minister can come. I don't care if he brings, or if it comes with the Tasmanian Liberal senators, though there's only one in my electorate, Senator Colbeck. He should come and speak to the growers in my electorate, and while he's there, come and see all the wonderful things we do, come and see our abalone industry and many other sectors of primary industries in our state. Let's just see what he does. We also know that from late February, in Senate estimates, the Plant Health Australia conducted a biosecurity exercise in Tasmania for fruit fly. This exercise in itself has remained shrouded in secrecy. We actually do not know how prepared Tasmania was for a fruit fly incursion, and clearly we can see that they weren't very well prepared at all. But Plant Health Australia claims to not know the outcome. So what did work well in that exercise? What didn't? What measures were needed in Tasmania to prevent fruit fly incursions? We don't have answers to those questions, and I think the Tasmanian public and those growers need to know. Bizarrely, though, this government and Plant Health Australia officials say this exercise has nothing to do with the fruit fly emergency in Tasmania because it was only looking for exotic fruit fly and not the endemic Queensland fruit fly that we see. But the actual protocols would remain the same. Being an island, you would think, you would know that if it's exotic or if it's Queensland, that those protocols would be the same. A fruit fly is a fruit fly and will devastate our horticultural sector. I've also invited the Assistant Minister Rushton or Plant Health Australia to come to my lecturate and look farmers in the eye and tell them this work has nothing to do with them and has no relevance to the current fruit fly emergency. The secrecy of Plant Health Australia and the actions of the Assistant Minister and Senate estimates and Tasmanian Liberal Senator Colbeck in running defence and diversions can only lead to one conclusion, that Tasmania failed. And this government is too busy running a protection racket rather than being honest with the Tasmanian community and farmers. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to be proven wrong on this. I would welcome either the Minister or Plant Health Australia to come down and to come clean on the exercise that took place. Plant Health Australia collects a levy from Tasmanian farmers to support their work. Part of their work is the development of the Emergency Plant Response Deed. This government, along with all state and territory governments, are signatories to the deed. Tasmanian Primary Industries Minister Jeremy Rockcliffe signed off on a new deed last year. Plant Health Australia says that they are only interested in exotic fruit fly, not the endemic Queensland fruit fly that has reached Tasmania. While I appreciate the need to have rigorous measures in place to prevent exotic species of fruit fly incursions in Tasmania, the Queensland fruit fly is an exotic species to us in Tasmania. Under the deed, farmers subject to an exotic pest incursion are able to access reimbursement for costs associated with such an event. So technically, you would think Tasmanian farmers should therefore be able to access compensation because of a Queensland fruit fly, but sadly it's not the case. And this is what the State Minister for Agriculture signed Tasmania up to. Our farmers pay a levy in good faith to Plant Health Australia. While fruit growers Tasmania are aware that due to this technicality, farmers are unable to access any support, I am sure there would be many farmers shocked that the levy they pay to support the deed does not allow them to obtain compensation in this emergency. Fruit Growers Tasmania believes the deed needs reviewing, and I support that call. The Queensland fruit fly is an exotic species to Tasmania, and I call upon the State, Commonwealth and Plant Health Australia to work with Fruit Growers Tasmania to revisit the deed. All levels of government should be working together to support Tasmanian farmers affected by this biosecurity failure. Rather than shift blame between each other, it is time all parties come together and work collectively to resolve this situation. Measures must be put in place to prevent this type of incident ever occurring again. It is so sad to go and see these farmers and see how limited they are now in the exclusion zones and the impact this has had on their productivity going forward and the markets that have shut down to them because of the protocols in place, which you can understand, but sadly this should never have occurred in a place like Tasmania. On this side of the House, we already have a $2 million commitment on the table to support increased biosecurity in Tasmania to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Labor has acted while those opposite have stayed silent. In so many areas, the other side, in particular the National Party, pay lip service to the regions and our farmers. Just once they should step up to the plate and do something to support Tasmanians' farmers. Our economy depends on it. Jobs in regional communities depend on it, and our farmers who work so hard, tirelessly, day after day, they're exporting and trading on the Tasmania brand, deserve support from the other side of the House more than ever. Thank you.